internet has evolved exponentially. And scenario, this was a slide that was already flashed. Extensively, it has become more and more complicated. But what has happened over this period of time is that apart from the evolution in terms of cyber infrastructure, we are also looking at an extensive level of evolution in terms of cyber threats that have risen to a level that now they are considered as a threat to our national security. Primarily, if you define in perspective in terms of causal and consequence analysis, there are three primary aspects you can differentiate them as cybercrime, cyber terrorism, cyber warfare. And cybercrime primarily deals from a law enforcement perspective, cyber warfare primarily from law of armed conflict or the national security perspective, and then you have cyber terrorism, which is in the middle of both of these. You have an overlapping arcade of the law of war as well as what is called as the law enforcement model. But yes, there is a third, there is one more angle to it, which is called as information-enabled terrorism. There is a drastic difference between cyber terrorism and information-enabled terrorism. Most of the people tend to confuse them as one and the same. They are not. For example, like terrorist use of VoIP for secure communication, or let's say a social media channel for recruitment, that's information-enabled terrorism, where informationization is helping conventional terrorist activities. So, as the timeline, you can see that the kind of sophistication in terms of these malwares, it has risen exponentially. In this talk, I'll primarily concentrate onto the weapons aspect, weaponization aspect, that how exactly things have changed. I'll touch upon briefly because there is cyber weapons and advanced threats to national security. So I'll be touching upon information-enabled terrorism, how exactly terrorism has changed in last 1 decade. Let's see some of the global geopolitical hotspots, and we have in US that primarily hacktivism, and then moonlight maze, targeted attacks which were attributed to China. You had in Brazil hackers taking down the most of their power grids in certain instances attributed. You had the instances in Tallinn where most of their e-governance is essentially, at that time I was in Tallinn at the NATO center. It was primarily a DDoS attack, again allegedly at the behest of the Russians, although there is no semantic proof of it. And that's where the attribution component of cyberspace comes into play. Now, the most recent thing is HAVEX. HAVEX is currently going on in cyberspace. It's a much more advanced version of, I would not say it's fully a Trojan, but it's something like a loader that is there, which detects onto the systems if there is an industrial control system that is attached to that particular system. The moment it is there, what I anticipate from my analysis, it's going to drop something that would be adding to the disruptive value. So what we are looking at is the submergization of disruptive values into the confidentiality or the information or intelligence extraction systems. In Middle East, we saw the famous Stuxnet. Stuxnet, as you already in the morning, it was a bit briefed on, targeted the PLC logic controllers. I'll go a bit deeper into it. Logic controller Siemens in this case, organizational block number 15, and which was essentially to change the centrifuge frequencies and resulted in the failure of the centrifuge in terms of minor explosions.